Alright, so now we're in Stark Tower, and now
Things have been pretty quiet around here lately. I suppose we
we've
should have
got a
followed
little
suit
bit
at last.
of cutscenes to do
Ms.
here.
Marvel has been investigating an international gun-running ring in the city. A lead identified this Roosevelt Island construction site as a front for their operations. Last night she reported discovering unexpected tunnels running beneath it. This morning she failed to check in.
Carol can definitely take care of herself, but we'll need to follow up on this just in case. Let's start by investigating those tunnels.
So we're moving into the second part of the Secret War storyline. This is the blowback where the Latvians, or at least Lucia Bombardus, are trying to get revenge for the thing that we just did. And we've been told that Carol Danvers, aka Miss Marvel, in this particular game, is down here looking to see what's going on. And it started an interesting line by, I think it's Iron Man who gives the line, that said that, you know, Carol can take care of herself, but we probably should go check on her. So I was like, well, can she take care of herself or not? And as it turns out, maybe not, but I really don't have a way to tell you that the power set of this particular Miss Marvel is different than the power set of the other, the MCU, you know, Captain Marvel.
They've got force shielding on that door. We'll have to find a
I certainly get the feeling that the MCU version of the character is more powerful than the video game version of the character here or in Ultimate Alliance 1. But she's our lure for getting us down here. In the original, you know, if you were playing a new game, then this would be where you'd have the opportunity to unlock her character. You know, as soon as you would find her and defeat the relevant boss battles. Of course, we're working on a completed sort of legendary campaign, so I guess we could, in theory, try to have Miss Marvel rescue Miss Marvel, since basically at this point every character is available for everything. One of my favorite things to do, you know, if you replay the game, is to go anti-registration, but use Iron Man. And it's kind of it doesn't do anything, it doesn't really affect the game in any way. It's just funny to think about. Most of the dialogue responses in this game are generic between the various characters. There are only a few special situations with unique dialogue, and you can usually guess which characters it is who would have those.
I could handle punks like you without the armor.
So, you know, like, for instance, unique dialogue between Spider-Man and classic Spider-Man villains. Unique dialogue between Tony and Cap. Unique dialogue between Mr. Fantastic and Susan Richards. You know, just
Stay down, or you get another taste of repulsion.
that kind of thing. I think there's unique dialogue between Daredevil and Black Widow. We're going to bust up some porta potties because that's clearly something that we need to do. So, you know, we definitely have these troops located down here in the sewers, which is weird.
All these high-tech toys, and I end up facing you.
And the team we've got here, we've got Wolverine, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Luke Cage, and I forget what combination of characters this is. I mean, technically, these guys would be the New Avengers based on the New Avengers comic, but not the New Avengers based on, like, the team that's known specifically as the New Avengers, which appeared after the Civil War event. But I don't remember if I'm getting any special bonuses here, or if this was just me wanting to use characters that I liked. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't put Iron Man and Spider-Man out there. Well, actually, I would, because that would give me a clearing fusion that I know works pretty well. And Luke Cage and Wolverine are definitely brawlers, so, I mean, you can see, in that way you can see why I built the team like this.
Sorry, that's gonna leave a bruise.
Right now I'm just spamming Luke Cage's physical attack. So I think Iron Man is actually down, so we'll need to heal him up. We do have enough health stuff to do that with. Yeah, there's Tony's crumpled body there. Alright, so we gotta play with more electric generators. Button mashing is never a thing that I do particularly well, just because of I've got a lack of dexterity in some of my fingers, which is why we keep screwing this up. But there we go. We've destroyed the force field generator. And that gets us a little bit further inside.
They're over here.
So we left off our Phase 4 discussion, I think, at the What If series, and that leads into the last part of the phase, which is another TV series on Disney Plus called Hawkeye. And it's been presented that this is going to be Hawkeye training the next Hawkeye, who is supposedly going to be Kate Bishop and not necessarily Hawkeye's own daughter. So him training his daughter and calling her Hawkeye in game might very well just be an Easter egg as opposed to a plot point for the future. And again, I'm hoping they don't kill off the older Hawkeye. Although all of these characters certainly have a difficult time retiring. And, you know, Captain America is going to be a real test case for this, because he's still there. He's awfully old, but he's still there. And I think it's another reason why they had to kill off Tony. Besides the fact they didn't want to pay Robert Downey Jr. just tons and tons and tons of money to keep coming back. But as long as there was a functioning Iron Man suit for Tony to jump into, you couldn't ever say that he was gone, even if he said he was retired, even if he said he's going to raise his kid in the woods. So in that sense, you kind of had to kill him off. So I don't know, how specifically you get Hawkeye out, and you get him out in such a way that he never comes back, because you can imagine that he would be tempted to, as long as he was physically able. I mean, we could physically injure Hawkeye in such a fashion that he couldn't heal, but that would be weird considering we had the technology to heal that kind of stuff. Back in Age of Ultron. But I'm hoping that it's basically a case of Hawkeye's just had enough. And honestly, after his experiences as Ronin in Endgame, he probably has had enough.
I do a victory dance, but I am still tired from kicking your butt.
I guess the issue is, well, what threat are we training a new, Hawkeye to deal with? What's our motivation for finding Kate Bishop in showing her the ropes? I mean, is this going to be some sort of Karate Kid thing? I don't really see this being a Batman Beyond thing. So it'll just be interesting to see what they do, because clearly there has to be an enemy somewhere involved in all this. But the arrival of Kate Bishop offers, the first glimpse of, well, not the first glimpse. We've gotten some glimpses from Cassie Lang, of the old New Avengers team. I mean, not new, sorry, young. The old Young Avengers team. And there have been people who have speculated that perhaps Kang the Conqueror has been introduced into the MCU in the form of Harley Keener, the kid from Iron Man 3, who I guess could have monkeyed around with Stark Tech to create a Iron Man-like suit that he then sort of melded to, and so he becomes Iron Lad. But I really wouldn't like the thought that Tony had created Kang the Conqueror, a villain who, haunt the Avengers for years after Tony's death. I mean, foes like Mysterio and the Vulture make more sense in the sense that they're people who were affected by Stark negatively and took action because of it. Harley Keener, as of this moment, I guess if he was to turn evil, and again, I don't think it makes any sense for him to do so, but maybe that's the whole point of telling that story.
Looks like it might be nap time for Spidey.
I do get the feeling, though, that when they do bring the Avengers back together, to sort of finish off on the Hawkeye series, the hierarchy is not going to be well established. Spider-Man Far From Home showed us that people are looking... Well, before Spider-Man was revealed as a villain and a murderer by Mysterio, that Spider-Man was kind of being looked to be the continuity, to be the next leader of, sort of the next Avengers Sam Wilson's going to have the title of Captain America, but no one's going to really be familiar with him because all of his friends are either dead or are Bucky Barnes.
You're gonna let me down or what?
War Machine's not important enough. I mean, it really is going to focus on Captain Marvel, but that's going to take her out of her role as sort of universe police cop
Over here.
that the in-game writers put her in order to, do that. I think that Captain Marvel, just from her sheer power and the fact that she has the title Captain in her name, will become the next leader of the Avengers. But I don't think it's a guarantee, as everyone just sort of agreeing
Thanks.
that that's what
As you
happens.
can probably tell, this op is a lot bigger than we thought. We need to figure out what these Latvarians are up to. Appreciate the thought, but you have no idea where you're going.
So,
There's an old factory above these tunnels. If we just
and yeah, I was purposely Spider-Man for this narration sequence because there was a brief period of time when Peter Parker and Carol Danvers, explored potentially having a relationship. I don't think anything really ever came of it. I think it was perhaps too much on the nose for Marvel's most famous superhero to be dating the superhero who takes her name from the fact that they're Marvel Comics. But, So when we come back next time, now that Iron Man is dead again, we come back next time, we'll talk about the last entry that's currently mentioned for Phase 4. We might talk a little bit about some of the things that have been hinted at going on in the MCU. And obviously we're going to keep fighting our way through the subway here. But yeah, that's going to take us to a discussion, at least a brief discussion, of Thor Love and Thunder, which people are hoping is Thor Ragnarok 2, and not necessarily Thor 4, as obviously it's titled. But, we're going to get Chris Hemsworth in one more outing as the Odin son. He's signed up for 2 more films, this being one of them. The assumption was that Guardians Volume 3 was the other one, but as you see on the release schedule, Thor 4 is going to beat Guardians 3 out. And if
That should lead up to
the time,
You go on ahead. I'm going to finish exploring these tunnels.
and if time is consistent,
Need me help, I'll be ready.
which it doesn't necessarily have to be, it means that Thor might not be in Guardians 3, and they might be saying,